What's up, guys? Welcome back to After the Credits, the review show that no one asked for. Today we are talking about Diablo. Yes, the original Diablo from 1997. So, shout out to my brothers Daxton and Drew, also born in 1997. So if you guys are watching this game is as old as you, and I'm playing it. In 2025, will it hold up? Will it not hold up? Let's find out on this episode of After the Credits. Roll the intro and let's get into it. Diablo is set in the cursed town of Tristram. Beneath the local cathedral, the demon lord Diablo is beginning to awaken. Long ago, he was imprisoned in a soulstone, but now he's manipulating key figures, including King Leoric, who goes mad, and eventually possessing Prince Albrecht in order to regain physical form. You play as a lone hero, either a warrior, a rogue, or a sorcerer who descends into the cathedral's depths to battle demons and uncover the dark truth behind what's happening in Tristram. Now, for me, this playthrough is not necessarily about the game itself. It's more about diving into gaming history and really seeing where the isometric ARPG genre got its start. And the best one I could think of to go back to was the original Diablo. Now, the only experience I have with the Diablo series is Diablo 3. Played a lot of Diablo 3, played endgame stuff, did Paragon levels, and honestly had a blast. I know that Diablo 3 is not the highest regarded in the series, but I still had fun with it. But that being said, coming into Diablo, I was very, very surprised by how the game is structured. There's only one town and one dungeon. Everything, story progression, action, all of that takes place in these two locations that are right next to each other. So it's really tight and focused, but it's a very big shift from what I was expecting going into this game. Now, visually, this game isn't offensive. It's definitely dated. That's to be expected when this game came out 27 years ago, but it's not going to turn you off if you start it up and start playing through the game. The FMV cutscenes, though, however, are hilariously out of date. There's only a few of them in the game. They really only happen in the very end. You get a couple FMV cutscenes, so they might have looked cool at the time, but boy, look rough now. Now, the sound design in the game is also very bare bones. You've got one weapon strike sound, one damage groan, and most enemies might have a sound clip when taking damage. One. It's primitive, but came out in the 90s. Again, to be expected. What did surprise me, though, was the voice acting. All the townsfolk are fully voiced, and they're actually really well acted. Even the lore books you find in the dungeon are voice acted, which is kind of mind-blowing for me. That's really crazy to have all of that voice acting in a game from this era. Now, unfortunately, the combat in this game feels very, very rough. Instead of the modern ARPG approach, which is constantly attacking, leveling up, and scaling your damage through better gear, Diablo focuses on hit chance instead. So weapons typically have a base damage range, and instead of scaling damage, you mostly just improve your chance to make contact. Now, you can make minimal increases to your hit chance by leveling dexterity, and strength does give you slight bonuses to your damage range that the weapon applies, but you're really not going to spend your time leveling strength in this game unless you need a certain strength level to equip a weapon. So strength's going to get neglected a lot in this game, but since I played through this game as a warrior, almost all of my level points went into vitality, because since you're playing a game based on percentage hit chance, you're going to need a lot of HP to counteract that, especially in the early game when you start out at like 50% hit chance. So vitality, vitality, vitality all the way. Now, as far as the gameplay itself, it essentially devolves into a click fest. You're just going to run up on enemies, smash the attack button on your mouse, and try to get as many attacks in as possible to land attacks to defeat the enemy. Doesn't really evolve beyond that whatsoever. Now, that being said, I know that that's very specific to the class that I chose. However, I did mess around with the sorcerer for a bit, and there's a little bit more variety with the combat with him. But even then, there's not a action bar in this game like you would see in a modern ARPG. You essentially have to go into menus to switch your spell to equip whatever spell you want to use, and then you cast that spell with a right click. So it's very clunky, and I didn't find that playstyle very fun, and that's why ultimately I just decided to go with the warrior path and just go Unga Bunga instead of trying to deal with managing my mana and managing spells by selecting them one at a time. It just feels archaic and not worth the investment. And then the other thing to note about the ranged classes in this game, so the sorcerer and the rogue in specific, enemies just close the distance on you in seconds. There's almost no ability to kite in this game at all that I found. So no matter how your movement is, they're just going to latch onto you. So it just made any ranged combat feel pretty bad, to be honest. So at the end of the day, does Diablo hold up? Short and sweet answer, no. It does not hold up whatsoever. I don't think there's any point in going back and playing this game unless you're a complete nerd like me and want to see how these genres began through the history of gaming, and you find the history of gaming enjoyable like I do. If you're not looking for that though, you're not going to find much here that's really worth your time. Now, my buddy Jake, who I mentioned in the Final Fantasy X video, who recommended that game, was in chat when I was playing something else, and I was talking about wanting to play Diablo 2 Resurrected, and he told me that I had to go back and play the original before playing Diablo 2. I think that guy's smoking crack or something, because I didn't really get a lot of value out of this. I think the end of the game might tie into Diablo 2, but was it worth the playthrough to get that FMV cutscene? Probably not. So ultimately, we'll see if we can prove him wrong when we play through Diablo 2 Resurrected later on in the year. But at this point, I think that dude is fucking crazy for even putting me through this, to be honest. So, fuck you, Jake. Bastard. Okay, so that leaves us with the conclusion where we rate the game, of course, through our very special patent-pending A through Cheeks review tier list system. Now, this game has a lot of characteristics that I would classify as a game that would fall into the Cheeks category, which is games that score 5 or below. The gameplay is very, very boring and repetitive. There's no replay value. I have no intention of going back and playing other classes with this game. I think with the warrior's really the best way to go, just based on the AI's movement mechanics. And I don't think there is a reason in the plot to go back to play this original game. So I want to put it in Cheeks, but due to the significance that Diablo had on the gaming industry and creating one of my favorite genres of all time, isometric action RPGs, I will give it a pass and put it in the C tier. C tier is a 5 out of 10 score, and I think that's a good place for it. Again, I'm being generous because I respect the history of this game. If it wasn't for that, if Diablo ended at Diablo 1, I think that this could easily slip into that Cheeks tier. It's just not really that enjoyable to play through all these years later. So, sue me if you want, but I dare you to try it and make up your own conclusion, and leave me a comment below telling me what you think about it, because it just doesn't hold up to modern day. Alright guys, that's going to do it for another episode of After the Credits. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you made it this far, you're a true legend of the community. My average view time for these videos is like 3 minutes, so if you made it all the way to the end, you're an absolute savage. And if you did, leave a comment down below just saying, Jake sucks. If you do, you'll get a heart from me. That'll prove to me you watched all the way through to the end, and you'll become an entrusted member of the community. Anyways, I love you all. Take care of yourself. Jake sucks. We'll see you on the next episode. Take it easy, guys.